Alright guys, so super excited about this one, Batman White Knight. So it is originally published as, I believe, 12 issues. It could be wrong. Nope, my apologies, 8 issues. Collected later in paperback, which I have here. And this book is awesome. It's one of the, I believe it's the first DC Black Label book published. And it is a hell of a start if it is. So it's written by Sean Murphy with art by Matt Hollingsworth. And it is super awesome, to be honest. Like, I'm going to fanboy out. It's a damn good book. As a Batman fan, like, I've been reading Batman for a decade now. I started collecting issue to issue with New 52, but through graphic novels, I've got everything. From Gotham Central, Hush, Final Crisis, all the Damian arc between Damian and Dick Grayson, and more. What I like about this book is it breaks from the norm, and yet it is still technically within continuity, which is the coolest part. So, Batman White Knight, once again, is a great story for Black Label. So if you haven't already read this book, this book is basically about what would happen if Batman finally went too far. If he finally let go and went, you know what, screw it, the Joker's dead. And that's basically what happens. This book opens up with a hell of a chase where Joker's tearing through Gotham, causing anarchy, and Batman is just, he's got tunnel vision. He's in the new tricked out Batmobile, which looks amazing, and he's blowing through whatever he needs to. Gates, going on top of roofs, through construction sites, jumping over a bridge, which is super awesome, and the Joker even makes like a self-aware comment, so it's kind of funny. But it just keeps going from there, and the chase concludes in Arkham, where Batman pins the Joker down, and he basically beats the hell out of him until Gordon and the police actually show up, and Nightwing and Batgirl are behind him, and he continues to just knock the teeth out of the guy. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's Batman. This is kind of like Frank Miller's Batman, the level of aggression, but okay, we can handle that. And what ends up happening is just through taunting him, the Joker finally really gets him to let go, and Batman takes a bunch of pills and he just basically crams them down his throat, drops them from his hand into Joker's mouth, covers his mouth, and if I'm not mistaken, beats him so that he eats it. And everyone is there shocked and amazed, and worse comes to worse, once again, cell phones recorded, and it's finally captured on video. A, the cops are there not stopping Batman, and B, Batman finally going too far. So from what happens is we get to understand that the Joker doesn't die. He is resuscitated, and whatever Batman shoved down his throat helps him. It makes him a little more sane, and he starts going by his name again, Jack Napier. And basically Jack rolls from there. He apologizes for his past crimes. For his own court case, he sits down in the Arkham Library, researches the hell out of law, gets himself out of jail, and he really just starts to help Gotham as like an apology to, hey, I'm sorry, I've been a crazy psychotic maniac for the last lifetime. Let me help. He starts helping community centers. He runs for political roles, and he really helps Gotham. Now, what I think is the best part is that beyond the initial impact of the premise, Murphy explores many ideas that haven't yet been touched on in the DC continuity. So particularly the relationship between Harley Quinn and the Joker, or Jack Napier, or Harley and Quinzel and Jack Napier. So many people who lightly read comics have seen movies. Maybe as a kid watched the animated series. Love Harley Quinn and the Joker. They think they're the greatest comic book couple ever because they're quirky, they're weird. Oh, that's so relatable. But realistically, that's a horrible relationship where the Joker abuses her, manipulates her, beats her, and nearly at times kills her, especially in Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder's run on New 52 for Batman. So the particular, like I mentioned, that gets explored. So for Harley Quinn, And particularly for this book, if you're a Harley Quinn fan, read it. Because it develops her character in a really fun, different angle that still applies to continuity, but shows something different than what we normally get to see. Especially if you've read the Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor series, please read this as well for a different look at Harley that's just as awesome, to be honest. And it also, one other big thing is mentioned about the relationship between Harleen and Jack is that Jack breaks down and he tells her how horrible he's been, that he understands that, and he wants to make things better. So as a Harley fan, please read this book as it shows that the humane repercussions of how Jack treated her. And if you're a super duper Harley fan, show all the fangirls this book, as it'll illuminate how Harley and Joker do not have a good relationship, and it's not something to be fond of. And the psychological breakdown that Harleen brings to the book is powerful and informative to the story, especially in the occasional rooftop meeting between Batman and Harley, because there are a few throughout the book. Now, one of my other favorite characters that gets sort of revisited in this book is Mr. Freeze. So we see him as, his blue skin, red goggles, dome, icy self, but he also gets retooled sort of as an old man. And he gives a proper ending to the story of the character. So to me, Batman White Knight actually ends Mr. Freeze's story. It creates the perfect ending. And I wouldn't want it to be any other ending, I don't think, until I'm sure someone comes up with something different, and maybe I agree. But right now, to me, White Knight has Mr. Freeze's definitive ending. And it's such a cool story, too. So upon basically working with Batman, he finds a cure, and Freeze doesn't know what to do with Nora. So he cures himself, but what happens is he ages. His body finally catches up to the fact that he's old, like he's in his 80s. And now he doesn't know what to do with Nora. So he's got the cure. He can free Nora, finally. But what do you tell the woman you love that, hey, for the last 30, 40 years when you've been trapped in ice, I've become a supervillain, terrorized the city, and now because of my technology, the city is in further danger. But I still love you. So it creates this really awkward moment where Freeze, as sort of penance for what he's done, has to deal with his life. And it's not, because as a character, I like him because his story makes sense to me. It's simple, it's straightforward. Man is in love with woman. Stuff goes wrong. He tries to fix it any way he can. And I appreciate that. I like the fight for the one you love. No matter, if it's guys, girls, whatever, gay, straight, doesn't matter. The matter is that they're fighting for what they love. They're fighting for the one they love. And Mr. Freeze does that. That's what he wants, singularly. That's his only focus. But this story concludes, and it finally makes him think, oh, but does the ends justify the means? Because he finally gets what he wants, but he can't necessarily have it. So it's a great ending to Mr. Freeze's story throughout this book. And once again, Sean Murphy, kudos for writing a wicked take on Freeze, Harley Quinn, Jack, and of course a different take on Batman. And there's also a new take on the character of Duke. So for those of you who don't know, Duke started in We Are Robin, and then he became the Signal. And this book has him a much different version. He's much older, he's ex-military, he's become sort of a gang leader to control the particular section of town that he rules, only so that the gangs don't tear it up. So he runs a community center there. And instead of leading the gangs, though, he controlled... Yeah, no, we said that. So basically, in Batman White Knight, as the story progresses, Batman and the reader are highly suspicious of the Joker, because you just are. You're like, oh, maybe he's trying to just get in positions of political power and then screw everyone over. Whoop. And so instead of... Shit. As the story progresses, Batman and the reader both look at Jack Napier, the Joker, with a lot of suspicion, and you should. Because you're thinking, well, he's getting himself into positions of political power. Wouldn't it be insane if he turned around and just became Joker again while being the president? I mean, you might have some crazy... Imagine having some crazy, blowhard, psychotic person running the White House, right? Craziness. So basically, Jack Napier, especially as they take control of Gotham, oddly, Jack's new control of the city earned fairly through political means, feels as dirty and weird as the stereotypical crooked politician, which I love. All of these stories, though, they complement... So all of these different stories, the one about how Freeze ends, how he ends, Harley and Jack becoming reformed, Batman becoming a criminal as he should be, he's a vigilante. All of those stories are different components that come together along with the main plot to form a great journey and explore Batman's world through a different lens, and it's really powerful and fun. So White Knight succeeds as something different to read, something interesting to read, and as a fresh look. That mental lens from Murphy, though, extends to his art. So Batman's look in this is way more intense. So instead of having, long gloves with the spikes on it, he's more or less wearing a singular jumpsuit. He's got biker gloves on. So the jumpsuit covers like gray all the way up to here, and he's got black leather gloves on, like finger gloves. His cape and cowl are a singular piece, which is held onto him by a band across his chest, which makes the bat symbol. And his car, actually, I think the Batmobile is the coolest part. So if you get this version of the book, in the back you'll notice a section which is basically his sketch notes, his detailing notes, and particularly, it's actually at the third last page of the book, you'll see this page, and it's important because this is how he designed the car. It's the coolest Batmobile I think I've seen. So it goes Murphy Batmobile. These are his notes. World War I plane meets 1960s supercar. Rear of the car, front should be the rear should look like a car. The front should look like the tumbler. Keep the Keaton stance, and I believe the Mark 9. Keep Keaton stance and make the tumbler. So basically, yeah. So that for the Murphy Batmobile, so it's basically a cross between a World War I plane, a 1960s supercar, with the rear end looking like a car, and it actually really looks like the Keaton Batmobile, the rear end without the big fenders on it, or of course the big exhaust. And then the front looks like the tumbler, of course from Nolan's Batman movies. And then basically other car details that are thrown in are the C3 Corvette, the 1970s Alfa Romeo, a speedboat, just in general, and of course the 1960s Lotus F1. And this car is a beast. It's a super cool Batmobile. I don't think there's anything like it in any other comic. And it just looks, frankly, awesome. Like, if I saw this thing rolling down the street, that would be the coolest car in the world. Now, my favorite part is that the rendition of the Joker / Napier, it's a fun Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde infliction. So, throughout the book, as the Joker recovers, the Joker, not Jack, but the Joker recovers, there's moments where he seemingly takes over Napier, or Napier has to fight him back as these drugs, which is similar to the tale of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And that juxtaposition is really cool thematically in the story, but also the art reflects that. So, as the Joker, his features, especially his nose and his crazy smile, are sharp, they're angular, but then as Jack, those same features, they feel a little bit softer. Obviously, physiologically, they wouldn't change a ton, but just the art, everything gets a little softer, a little more comfortable looking. Especially his smile, which is within the bounds of normal human expression as Jack Napier. And then Napier has a shockingly calm and determined demeanor, and his words are calculated and tactical. So there's no It's like no matter how serious or empathetic they are, they're always very, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to do it, this is how I'm going to end up where I need to end up to win. The Joker, on the other hand, is his normal insane self with lettering that is chaotic, angular, sharp, and almost painful to look at. So overall, if you count yourself as a fan of Batman, read Batman White Knight by Sean Murphy and Matt Hollingsworth. It is a DC Black Label. Please pick it up. Please enjoy it. And yeah, I guarantee you this book will be awesome. So once again, Batman White Knight.